Trainers, Coach Mark here, and welcome to another one of our Power Watts introduction workout. This time we're going to learn a little bit about some of the Power Watts games that we play. If you haven't already checked it out, make sure that you guys try the Power Watts Basics workout to understand a little bit more about our training interface and some of the exercises that we do. In this particular introduction workout, we're going to introduce you to three common games that we play called the target game, the time and zone game, and the hidden game. The target game, sometimes we just call it a TAR game, and the goal of that game is to get your average power and your average cadence exactly equal to the target. And we're going to be playing that game in just a sec. We also have the time and zone game. Sometimes we just call it the TIS game. In that game, your goal is to keep your average watts in the green and your current watts in the green for as much of the period of time as you can for the interval step. And lastly, in the hidden game, your goal as well is to keep your power in the green as much as possible. However, in that one, you don't even see your power because your gauge is hidden, making it quite a challenge to achieve. So those are going to be the three games that we're going to practice in this particular workout. If you guys remember back to the Power Watts Basics workout, we talked about how sometimes we do exercises that have a power target and a cadence target. In that particular workout, when there's a power target and a cadence target, we suggested you get your power in the green and then play around with your gears to get your cadence in the green, plus or minus about 5 RPM of the target. Because sometimes you don't have the gear to get to exactly the power target and the cadence target. But in the target game that we're going to play in this workout, your goal is not only to get into the green, but to get your averages exactly equal to the target. What that means is that you might have to purposely ride at a cadence that's a little bit too high or a cadence that's a little bit too low in order to get your average cadence exactly equal to the target. And similarly, you might have to go a bit too high or a bit too low in your power to get your power exactly equal to the target. So we've just done a 3-minute little warm up here. So let's take a 1-minute recovery period as we get ready to try our target segment. So keep in mind, what we're trying to do here is get the averages exactly equal to the target. However, before we get into the target game, let's just go over a little bit some principles that you're going to want to use to succeed on the target game. The first principle is that you always want to make sure that you get to that power target first. So in the exercise that follows, we're going to ride at 70% for 2 minutes. But for the first 30 seconds, you're just going to have a chance to settle into that 70% to meet that first principle. The second principle of a target segment is once you're at the power target, to get as close to the cadence as you can. So we're going to be doing a 30-second period at 70% and 90 RPM, which is going to be the RPM target for the target segment. And then we're going to start the target segment. So let's go to 70% first. So let's go to 70% first. And now you can see the next step indicator is showing that your target is going to be 70% watts and 90 RPM. But it's not going to be a target segment. All I want you guys to do is get as close to 70% and 90 RPM as you can. And then the target segment is going to start after that. And you'll see what the target indicator looks like in our timer bar. So let's go to as close to 90 RPM as you can. So let's go to 70%, as close to 90 RPM as you can. If you're plus or minus 5 RPM, you're good. Now, if you look in the timer bar in yellow, you can see a little target indicator. That means that the next step is a target segment. So your goal, you have 1 minute to do it, is to get your average power and your average cadence as close to 70% and 90 RPM as you can. So let's give it a try, guys. So keep your power at 70%. Keep your power at 70%. Keep your cadence as close to 90 as you can. And now bring your attention to your averages. First, look at your average power. You want it to be exactly 70%. If it's too high, purposely ride a bit too low for a bit. And if it's too low, purposely ride a bit too high for a bit until it's exactly at 70%. And now, look at your little gauge. Look at the bottom number. Look at your average cadence. We want that to be exactly 90 RPM. So if it's too low, go a gear easier. If it's too high, go a gear harder. And play around with your gears until you get that average to exactly 90%. We don't have a lot of time left here, guys, so make any little adjustments you need to get as close to 70% and 90 RPM as you can. We're almost done. And get a little bit of recovery. And now if you guys take a look in your summary card, it gives you a target score. What was your target score? The goal is to get over 99% accurate. That's calculated based on your average power and average cadence. So you know what? Let's give it a try again. This time the targets are going to be 75% and 100 RPM. So first things first, let's go to 75% and 100 RPM. We are not on the target segment yet because we didn't see the little target icon indicator. But now in the next step indicator, you see it's there. So the next step is going to be a target segment. So right now, get as close to 75% as you can. Look at your cadence. See if you can get somewhere between 95 and 105. And we're about to begin the target segment. So let's get ready for it, guys. Keep riding at the same rate. You don't need to change anything yet. And now take a look at your bottom number in the big gauge. Get that to exactly 75%. You might have to ride a bit higher. You might have to ride a bit lower. Now take a look at your mini gauge. Look at the bottom number in there. If you're less than 100 RPM on average, go a gear easier. And if you're higher than 100 RPM average, go a gear harder. And get that average to exactly 100 on the RPM. Lots of quick micro adjustments are the key here. Continually adjusting the foot pressure, continually adjusting the gear so that on average, you're right where you want to be. You got a few more seconds to make any final tweaks, and then we'll see your target score. We're almost there. Nice job. And now take a quick look in your summary card. What was your target score? Were you able to get your accuracy over 99%? And if not, that's okay. These types of games appear in lots of Power Watts workouts, so you'll have a lot of chance of opportunity to practice. Target games like that force you to really concentrate on quick and smooth gearing adjustments, making it faster for you to learn the process of smoothly adjusting your gears. Next up, we're going to try the time and zone game. The goal of the time and zone game is to stay in the green as much as you can. What we're going to do is ride at 80% for a minute. You have 30 seconds to settle into 80%, and then we're going to do the time and zone game for the final 30 seconds of the minute. So let's give it a try. The goal now is to be as steady as you can. Unlike the target, you don't want to go up and down, you want to be super steady. So here we go. 80% now. You have a plus or minus 40 watt window to work with at the moment. And then when the time and zone game starts, and you can see in the next step indicator, we have a little stopwatch. That icon means it's the time and zone game. When we start the time and zone game, the window is going to shrink on you. It's going to go from plus or minus 40 to plus or minus 25. So stay bang on that 80%, guys. Don't change anything. 3, 2, 1. And now we're riding at 80% time and zone game. Don't change your effort. Just stay as consistent as you can. And the tighter window makes it very challenging. Primary goal is to stay in the green as much as you can. So keep it in that green zone for the last few seconds. Good job, guys. And get a little recovery. Now take a look at your summary card. It shows you the percent time that you spent in the green. And that number, the goal is to get that as close to 100% as you can. The number beside that tells you what your wattage offset was, how close your average was to be exactly equal to the target. So on this next one, Not only do I want you to stay in the green as much as you can, I want you to try to get your average as close to 85% as possible too. So let's go up to 85%. Our next time and zone segment is going to be at 85%. So we got 30 seconds to settle in. Then you want to spend as much time in the green as you can. And at the same time, try to get your average power to as close to 85% as possible. And then that offset number is going to be as low as possible. So don't change anything, guys. Hold the 85%. And we're about to start the time and zone. Here we go. To succeed on the time and zone, don't overly focus on the gauge. Focus on the sensation of effort and keeping it consistent from one pedal stroke to the next. That's going to minimize the variability and, as a consequence, maximize the amount of time that you spend in the green. Double check your average power, the bottom number in the big gauge. How close is it to 85%? And get a little bit of recovery. Nice job. Take a look in your summary card. What was your percent time in the green? What was your wattage offset? The goal is to be 100% green with a wattage offset of 0 watts. Now we're going to do this one more time, guys. This time we're going to ride for a minute at 90%. You have 30 seconds to settle in, and then we're going to play the time and zone game again, but with a twist. So let's go to 90%. So you have 30 seconds to settle into 90%. If you guys look at the next step indicator, now you can see an eyeball with a slash through it. That means we're going to be doing the next segment hidden. So it's going to be a time and zone game, but you're not going to see the gauge. So internalize the feeling of effort that you're doing right now at 90%. Focus on that feel, and your gauge is about to disappear. So 3, 2, 1, and we are on it. Blind time and zone game. Let's see how good your feel is for your power output. Focus again on being as consistent as you can from one pedal stroke to the next in order to maintain the power on that target, even though you can't see it. We got a little bit of time left, and then we're going to see the results. All right, and take a look at your summary card. It shows you the percent time you were in the green. It shows you your wattage offset. You can also see what your average power was. The tendency when we hide the gauge usually is for riders to go above the indicated target. What happened to you? Were you bang on? Were you too high? Were you too low? By including these hidden games, we force you guys to learn to internalize the feeling of pressure underneath your pedals, underneath your feet, or maybe the feeling of cadence or the overall feeling of effort. And we do this at many different power outputs, including endurance powers like 70, 80, 90% like we did today, threshold powers like 100% watts, even anaerobic powers like 120% watts. So that way you guys don't become just a slave to the gauge and just focusing on the power. You also want to fine-tune your sensation of effort. So if you're training without power, you will be able to maintain an appropriate level of intensity depending on the exercise or the outdoor bike ride that you're doing. So those are 3 basic Power Watts games that you're going to see a lot of. The target game, the time and zone game, and the hidden game. Do the coached workouts with the recording, and the coach will talk you through the target segments, the time and zone segments, and the hidden segments of every workout, giving you guys more hints to maximize your score, maximize your results on those particular games. Because then when you jump in to Power Watts live sessions and you're riding with other riders, you will be ranked first, second, third place relative to the other participants in the class. So it becomes a friendly competition with like-minded riders to see who's the most precise or the most accurate with their power output. So get ready to enjoy the rest of your Power Watts workout.